Hello, welcome everybody. Welcome to the contributors meeting. I'm going to be your host today. I'm Leo, and let me start by sharing my screen. Okay. All right, this is the doc that we usually use for this meeting. If you don't have the link, I'm going to send in the Zoom chat. And as usual, starting off with triage and discussion for this week. It was myself and Akram. Unfortunately, it's been quite a busy week for me. I really didn't have time to dedicate on this. I can take for the next week, no problem. Is Akram in the call? Doesn't seem he is. Okay. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna keep myself as a primary to do it next week. And do we have any volunteers for secondary in the call? Otherwise, I'll go down the list. Yep.
Is anyone doing secondary?
Yeah, that's what I'm asking. If someone is
Yeah,
can do secondary.
I can do that. I have
Cool.
time this week. Next week, yeah.
All right. Thank you. Okay. Moving on. So we have 4 topics today. For discussion, let's start with the first one added by Seth. You want me to share? You want to share your screen? You want me to click the link, whatever you feel like, Seth?
If you just like to click the link, that's fine.
Okay, sounds good.
The TLDR on this is that there's a place when it's revoking tokens where it does a lock and then it does a Redis scan, and for the Redis scan it passes the default value, which means it only does a count of 10, and we have 4 million Redis keys in our Redis, so scanning through 10 at a time takes a very long time, which means that lock stays in place. And during that time, every single API call coming in that uses a local user token will just hang waiting for that lock, and then we start getting timeouts and our API calls fail. So locally, I made my own build that bumps that 10 up, and that made it work really. So I'm cool writing a fix for this, but I didn't know if we wanted to just bump that up to a set value, if we wanted to set a config for that, or if someone had a better idea on how to fix this overall.
Yes, go ahead.
Did you have any sense about whether the load revoke tokens was locked with a cap for security reasons or other reasons? I'm not familiar with this code.
I'm not entirely sure what it's doing. Is it's specifically for tokens around local users, and then you can generate tokens for that local user.
Mm-hmm.
And then what load revoke is doing is it's going through looking to see if those tokens have at some time been revoked. We never used this either, so it's specifically hard because we have 0 revoked tokens in our Redis. So like it's tearing through 4 million to end up doing nothing. So I'm not entirely sure.
I want to look at this more carefully. I really want Alex M's insight because I assume he wrote the code here.
So do you actually revoke tokens a lot? So is that the reason that you have a lot of revoke tokens in Redis, or?
No, the Redis keys we have are all around the manifest ones, but we actually don't use the local tokens at all, so we don't have.
Oh,
We do use local tokens for like a few API calls that are important for our CI workflow, but we never revoke any of those tokens. So we've got 4 million keys.
I understand.
And then
Yeah.
it's
Well,
going.
that's.
Sorry, go ahead.
No. Yes, I was just wondering out loud. So sorry.
Can you point me where in this code we see the 10? That's the piece I'd like to maybe understand a little bit better.
So right there on line 84, it does Redis scan.
Yeah.
It's not, see where it's passing in -1 there.
Mhm.
-1 is default. Default is 10.
I see. So you make you added a different number here. Is that what you're?
I think I did 10,000.
Okay.
Maybe a bit aggressive, but since we needed to go through 4 million, wanted to be a tad aggressive.
Yeah, I think it's as Michael said, right? Maybe just do some verification with Alex and to understand it maybe a bit better how this logic is created, but apparently having a parameter that can be configured to change this value is maybe something reasonable as well. You're saying it addressed your problem, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Made it go through in just a few seconds instead of over 15 minutes. And
We have in Argo CD a few parameters to drive the behavior. So in to configure.
I think maybe like this logic is required because we don't know the exact name of the keys for revoke tokens, right? They probably have some like we have to like look at the key and figure out whether that's for revoke token. I don't know, like maybe it makes sense to store the revoke tokens completely differently in Redis, like under one predictable key that has a data structure that contains all the revoke keys. Because I would assume like this looks very weird to me, like having to go over all the Redis keys that exist in the cache. So
I don't know if storing it in one would cause a race condition. Two different instances of the server are running at the same time, and they both get hit with different token revokes.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Might be.
Would you have any objection with going with the additional configuration, Jan?
Which additional configuration? Sorry.
To expose an additional parameter somewhere in Argo CD to drive this value here instead of having it.
I don't know. I don't think so. I'm not sure what happens like when you scan all these keys. I would guess it will result in some traffic in between the consumer and the Redis cache, right? And if you have like if this happens all the time, I can just imagine that it might also produce a lot of unnecessary traffic.
Yeah, it runs on an hourly thing. So it happens once an hour. If you go back to
it's okay.
If you go back to the issue, and scroll down to the bottom, I posted what some Redis stats looked like in the all the way to the bottom. I posted charts of what our Redis looked like. So the top chart there is hourly spike because we were on number of Redis requests. So you can see every time that needs to call
Yeah.
vote, we get these huge spikes on reads. But then you can see that after I made the change, those reads dropped down. But then because I've increased it from 10 to 10,000, the Redis durations suddenly have spikes. I don't know if that would cause any issues, but that's why I thought maybe allowing configuration so people can dial in their own.
What I don't understand is why the prefix isn't preventing this from becoming a problem. So you're scanning over the keys, a count of 10, which if you scan over everything, obviously takes freaking forever. But if you don't have any revoked tokens of that prefix, why are we scanning more than 0?
Yeah, that confused me at first too, but digging into the Redis documents, what it's doing is when you say scan 10, it looks at 10 things, whether it's load revoked or not. And then if it doesn't find any load revoked, it just returns 0 things.
That's nuts. That's wild. Okay.
Yeah, I was very confused on why it was that way, but I guess that's
So -1 just means what? It's scan everything basically, and because it's like indexed, it's fast because of the prefix.
no, -1 mean defaults to 10. So it looks at 10 things, sees that there's no load revoked tokens, returns 0, and then it goes, but I'm not done looking at all 4 million, so I'll go in and look at another 10. And just
And
keep that
what
open.
did I didn't know what the PI was looking at. So did you change that? What did you change that value to?
I changed to 10,000, and that was able
10,000. Got it. Okay.
I was able to tear through the 4 million that we have pretty quick.
Sure.
Yeah, it says right in that comment I got that. With 10,000, it went from 5:15 minutes to 11:17 seconds.
Sure. Makes sense. Interesting.
Have you tried anything in between, say 1,000, 100?
I haven't because I have to go through another team to get
Sure.
the version of Argo that I compiled released, and that's on. They do a 2-week cadence on that, so you can't like do quick iteration on fiddling with that number.
Makes sense. I always hate adding flags because just the configurability explodes in Argo CD. So I would prefer bumping to say 100 or 1,000 because that seems reasonable given what we've looked at. But I'd obviously want to see some stats, see if those are actually helpful, and if we have to make it configurable, we just have to.
Sure, I can start getting that on their release schedule to push out try out different numbers.
Another possibility is maybe do some investigation to see if the Redis client provides a different method that would behave as what Michael expected, which was my expectation as well. Instead of getting 10 things, as you said, maybe do an index kind or something like that we have in normal standard, I would say, relational database. But yeah, this is not a relation database, so
Yeah, I'm also not a Redis expert, so
yeah, I'm just saying maybe if you have time, maybe take a really quick look at the Redis API documentation to see if there's a different method that we could call here, and that would take care of just bringing the keys that starts with this, not having to iterate over the entire database, which seems that what is being doing here. But I don't know if that method even exists. So,
I did take a very quick look. I didn't see anything, but I can dig deeper.
all right.
Yeah, like match looks interesting. Not. Anyhow,
Cool. I guess we have two suggestions here. Maybe again, see if there's a better method that we could use, and if not, specify another value here that makes more sense for a general use. Is that what you're saying, Michael? To go in that direction instead of having the additional parameter?
Yeah, I'd prefer a higher reasonable default over a parameter. if that actually solves the problem.
Yeah. I guess another option would be to make the lock a little bit more fine grained.
I tried looking at that and I couldn't figure out a pattern that would match how this is currently working. I I'm not entirely sure what the concerns are around the revoke token, so I didn't want to make any assumptions around that.
Mm.
Okay. Well, I guess you have a few suggestions, Seth. Please feel free to reach back to us if you have a PR for this.
Sound good? Thanks.
Thank you. All right. Next topic. What do we have here? Tabata Di Domenico.
Nailed it.
Hi.
Hey there.
Hi. How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
You want to
So
share? You want me to click the link?
if
Whatever.
you could click the link, that would be fantastic.
Perfect.
Perfect. So this is not my PR. It is something that my organization would like to implement and like to look at. And it looks like there's other interest in it as well. It's been shelved for nearly a year, but it looks like it has passed every check, every review, and it just needs further testing. So we're just trying to understand what the requirements for that testing is to see if we can put some resources at it and get this merged.
Sure. Are you familiar with the implementation here and what is being changing in terms of functionality in Argo CD that you could briefly drive us to?
From my understanding, it changes from using just one URL for a host name or one string to be able to use multiple hosts to be able to for SSO to be able to verify. Not an expert.
Okay. Let's see what it fixes.
Yeah, it's a pretty popular thing though, right? I mean, it's got 33 upvotes here. And I guess I've heard it on Slack and a couple of times. So I think the feature request is definitely valid, so that people can expose their RCD through like an internal UL and an external UL.
There's been a recent uptick in traffic on this PR as well. If you just other folks that are interested in getting this merged, so.
Glancing through the code, nothing concerns me. We will probably need some Argo approver to champion getting this reviewed and merged. That I won't be able to be that person for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, I will take a look at it.
Thank you.
Sorry, who's that?
That was me, Jan.
Yeah, okay. Thanks, Jan. All right. We are also doing some work internally at Intuit related to SSO. Maybe this is something that we could maybe test internally. I'm not sure if we have this requirement per se. Alex, any?
Yeah, it also depends on which SSO. So I don't know. It seems just to be for the default OIDC method. So if people use DEX or other SSO mechanism, it won't work. But I'll need to dig deeper in the PR. I'll take a look as well.
Cool. Thank you, Alex. Yeah, maybe this feature should be able to address the two use cases, right? The native OIDC and using DEX as the OIDC provider. So yeah, that's a good point. Cool. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
No problem. Moving on. We have new things coming up here. Christian, Redis security issue. You wanna?
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
think,
so
Leo, you missed the one above.
The one above. So sorry.
oh yeah.
Yes. I'm blind. Sorry about that. Christoph.
Hey, hello everyone.
Hi.
Yeah, I would be interested what needs to be done in order to merge this pull request. It's a proposal for server-side pagination for the Argo applications. I work at a company where we have a huge Argo CD currently managing over 3,000 applications in one instance. And yeah, currently we have the problem that the UI is taking very, very long to load. So up to 30 seconds to see any applications in the UI. And we would be really interested in this change. And as far as I understand the contributor guidelines, first the proposal must be merged in order to commit any other code changes. And I would be interested what needs to be done in order to push this forward. We can surely contribute to testing once the feature is ready, and even maybe contribute in implementing the change. But first, as I understand, the proposal must be accepted. So yeah, I would be interested what needs to be done in order to keep this pushing forward.
Yeah, I briefly looked at this, and apparently there's just a few open questions here. As soon as Alex replied back to this, it could be merged. Not sure if Michael, I see that you looked at it. Also, Alex. So that's my take. As soon as those questions are answered, there's a suggestion here about changing the API in the proposal. Then we can just go ahead and improve. We had some movements 2 weeks ago from Hong and Christian. So
I would also say, Leo, that in principle, I mean, there are a few details here that need to be worked out, but from what I was reading, I didn't think that there was enough fundamental disagreement to not start working on the code. So if I think, Christoph, you're actually saying that you want to work on this PR.
Essentially, it only works if the proposal is merged, I guess. I would surely like to take a look at it, but
well, no,
I'm not an expert
yeah,
in
so
Argo
this
CD
is
code base.
just a proposal for like, hey, we want to go solve this problem. Here's how we want to do it, to create agreement on how to solve the problem. So once that's merged, someone still has to actually go and write all the code and create the PR, you know?
Yeah, sure, but as I understand it, this first has to be merged for any code changes to be viable.
In general, yeah. In practice, no.
Yeah, because I'm saying like the PR could be being worked on simultaneously, because the last stuff to work out here isn't big enough that you couldn't have a PR that was probably 80% of the way there. So I'm just saying, like, there is a way to keep this moving without necessarily, while this is being worked out, is all I'm saying.
Okay.
I want to raise one thing though. I think I assume that this is like the proposal that Alex has sent. I think he already has code. Like I think they have like proprietary code in the Acuity Argo CD stuff, right? So and I think the idea was that they wanted to contribute that, but that's just like, you know, as an information. I mean, everyone can go ahead and submit a PR for that, obviously, if it works. So just wanted to notice that, not that there will be two competing PRs at a point in time for that.
If you go up to the issue that's linked in the first comment from Alex, so on top. He explains in the issue that is linked on top, the 1490.
This one?
Yes. He explains why he has made this proposal in the first place, because they would have liked to contribute that, but I think he noticed some problems that cannot be addressed directly. So if you scroll down, there's a comment where he's mentioning that he's opening up this proposal somewhere. Check that.
Probably
Yeah.
one of the last comment.
Fourth last comment. So near the bottom, actually.
Yeah, lots of discussion. Okay.
Yeah, so he has linked in the fourth last comment. He has stated his reasons why he has made the proposal and why they just can't contribute it in the first place, because I think they have in their implementation direct access to the database. That's currently not possible with the Argo setup.
Christian, would you be willing to find out if there's any plan to contribute like Acuity's actual pagination code, or if it would be purely a separate open source implementation? Because if it would be separate, I'd be very much in favor of Christoph just writing the code, and Alex M could probably provide a really good review.
Yeah, no, I can check on that. I'll follow up with that.
Yeah. Christoph, I don't know if you were looking for the option to write it yourself, but it would be great if you want to contribute it.
I have two options. I have the option to split apart a Argo CD in two at work, to have two Argo CD instances holding 1,500 Argo CD applications themselves, just to have to do this in 1 year, maybe again, or I can just contribute somehow and maybe make this better, so I won't have to do this all over in a year or two. So I would really like to help if I can.
Also, to mitigate the issue in the past, if you set RBAC policies to just limit the number of application you have permission to read, it helps. Or you can also just have label on your applications and have Argo links that always select the default view with a set of labels instead of having like the default URL that just queries all application. So it helps speed things up as a mitigation.
Okay. Yeah, I can surely take a look at that, but at the moment, especially our administrative team, which has to look over the whole deployment, has strong issues, I guess, with that, because they're seeing the namespaces from all the departments, and they have to assist in debugging. It's very annoying if you have to wait constantly for Argo CD page to load, and even sometimes to see that the connection just timed out, and you have to try again and hope that this time not that many users use Argo CD in order to not time out when using the web UI. So it would really help us.
All right. Thank you, Christoph, for bringing this up. Yeah, we have some directions here. Moving on, we have a few more topics to discuss. So, Christian's Regis security.
Yeah, I saw this yesterday. It looks like Dan already kind of replied to it, but someone found some CVEs for the Reddit's image that we're using. Not sure if there's anything we can do about it, because it seems like all the Redis images have the same open CVEs, but it's just something I wanted to bring it at attention. I don't think there's any action items that come out of this, but just something to keep an eye on. There is open CVEs on the image that we're using that apparently exists in all Redis images, so I'm not sure what we can do.
I don't know if all of these are on every Redis image, but just looking at the Docker Hub, the images all have like a bunch of CVEs reported.
CVEs on them? Okay.
Yeah, so
okay. You meant they have CVEs, but not we don't necessarily know if they have the exact same CVEs.
Yeah, I didn't check those specifically.
Gotcha.
They do have they all of them have critical, high, medium, and low severity CVEs on them. So I don't know. Yeah, 7015 is slightly better. I mean, it still has
I checked into this. 2.9, 2.10 are using 7.0.15, but for some reason 2.11 on HA is using 7.0.14. But yeah, as soon as the upstream releases it, I'll create a PR and get this pumped up and taken care of.
Well, at the very least, we can formalize everybody onto 7015. I don't think there's any reason why that that sounds like a mistake that one wasn't updated.
Yeah, we can correct that and bump that to 7.0.15. I can take care of that as well.
All right, thank you, Justin. All right, and taking Christian for bringing that up. Anything else from this one? Okay.
I don't think so. No.
All right. Moving on. Let me make sure I'm not skipping anyone. So, Michael, your turn.
Yeah. So I'm pushing forward with hydrator code. It's a big proposal, and I wanted to present the basic big changes, particularly architectural changes in this venue, so that people don't have to read the whole doggone PR. And I'm glad Jan is here, so we've got someone else with a lot of knowledge, as well as Leo, though I know you've already looked at this. Do you mind if I steal and show a few slides?
Go ahead.
No folks hate slides, but I'll try to make it exciting and interesting. So, hydrator proposal. I'm going to run through what in the heck it is real quick for folks who may not know. The idea behind the hydrator is basically build the rendered manifest pattern into Argo CD as a first-class feature. So the way the feature works is it reads your dry manifests, like your Helm or your customized stuff from Git. It hydrates them, so runs Helm or customized. You get raw Kubernetes manifests out the other end, and Argo CD would push those manifests to Git. So that's the first big architectural change. Now Argo CD is doing pushing where it used to only do pull. It syncs from the branch that it just pushed to, and optionally it can push to a different branch than the one it syncs from, and that'll let you use like a GitHub action or manual PRs or an external promotion system like the one that I'm working on with some Intuit folks to promote changes from the staging hydrated branch to the live hydrated branch. So that's basically how the thing functions. First change is in the application API. We'll introduce source hydrator as a field. It will take precedence over the source or sources field. And we specify the dry source. These are the only 3 fields you're allowed. You aren't allowed to add like tool specific Helm values or anything like that. The reason is the expectation is that users will check those parameters into Git in this repository and in this directory using the existing Argo CD source.yaml feature. So same syntax as you would put here, but now just dropped into Git instead of in your application. So you set the sync source. That's just a branch that you want to push to, and optionally a path that you want to push to. Generally, we'll want people to set this so that they can add and remove apps to the same environment branch if they want. We don't allow you to push to a different repo URL at the moment, but there's nothing fundamentally that would prevent you from pushing to a different repo. And then finally, here's that optional staging branch that you can push to in order to manually promote if you want. For now, we say repo URL has to be the same, path has to be the same, just to simplify the copy over. But again, there's nothing fundamentally preventing us from expanding this API in the future. Let me pause here. Anyone have questions about the API? And I'm moving a little fast because I want to make sure that we can get to the last topic if we can. Cool. So I mentioned push is a big architectural change. I believe that we should introduce a new workload, a new deployment with a new gRPC service, works just like repo server. The reasons I think it's important to make it a new component are it allows independent scaling. This thing's going to be doing a lot of Git operations. It's going to have to keep local copies of Git repositories. I do think it's important to be able to scale that independently of, say, the application controller. It minimizes access to write secrets. So if we were to push this work into, say, the repo server, we'd have to be sending push secrets to the repo server. I think that would be a mistake because so much user land-ish code runs on the repo server. And to me, it's risky to have write secrets over there where someone could potentially push something malicious. I think it's worth the overhead in order to isolate those secrets. So the architecture would be only the application controller makes requests to the commit server, and the commit server accesses no other Argo CD components. This is similar to how the repo server works. We try to keep it isolated, and the application controller is sort of God mode, and it manages all the communication to get secrets from Kubernetes and to get manifests from the repo server, and then it just passes those to the commit server to push up to Git. The only egress would be to your source control manager, i.e. GitHub, GitLab, etc. So pausing here for questions. Let me check.
Yeah,
chat.
I actually have a question. Thanks.
Yeah.
So the commit server would not like be responsible for hydrating the manifest, right? That would still be the repo server.
Correct. The app controller would ask for manifests from the repo server.
Yeah. Okay. And the commit server would only then take those hydrated manifests and process them further, right?
Exactly. It would write them to disk in a Git clone and then do a Git commit, Git push.
Okay. Yeah, cool. That was my question. Thanks.
Cool. Anything else? Okay. Last slide. The other big-ish change is we think we should add a new secret type. So right now we have secret type equals repository. We think it should probably be purely opt-in to add these write secrets, and they should be kept separate from the pull secrets. Again, to keep the repo server from having more access than it needs to have. So the flow would be, you know that you want your users to be hydrating manifests out to repository X. You create a new secret with this label and populate it with the necessary information. And of course, we would expand the UI to allow you to create, update, and delete these. And finally, today we're like emphasizing having app support because both the promoter and the previewer components will, basically probably need GitHub apps because it provides that level of access. But I do think it's important to make sure that we support things like deployment keys and SSH access, etc. So that's all I had. Yeah, Christian.
Yeah, I actually have more generic questions, so I don't know if anyone has like a more technical or specific questions. Don't want to trump anyone else, but if no one has questions, so I have like two questions. Well, one thought and another one just a question in general. So this kind of feels like you said, a different change in paradigm with what Argo CD does. Like you said, it now it does push and pull, right? Like it writes to a repo now. So I wonder if I can make the argument to put this in Argo Labs, but if not, I mean I can argue, yes and no, but if it's like if it's a feature that everyone wants, I wonder if like this is the opportunity to bump Argo CD to like version 3.0. Because I know we've been kind of talking about like we've been running V1 Alpha 1 for a long time on Argo CD version 2. Like I wonder like if we can take this opportunity, like if this gains steam and popularity, that if we can just like this is just going to be Argo version 3.0, we're going to graduate a lot of APIs, blah blah blah. So I think anyways, that's just kind of my question. I don't know what anyone else's thought. Like, do we see this as an opportunity to, maybe create Argo? Maybe we can deprecate some APIs. A chance to start fresh. So I don't know. I want to open it up to anyone else's thoughts.
Take it in two pieces. So Argo Project Labs and Argo CD 3.0. For the labs question, we definitely considered that because you could technically dump this entire piece of YAML into an annotation and have a separate component process it, make requests against the repo server for hydration and then push. After looking at it, we felt that the user experience of like having a UI to indicate manifest hydrator status, having a UI to create write secrets, and having the components in a position to have all the information to make like the correct request to the repo server. We believe that all of that made it make more sense to take advantage of the code base that's already there, combined with the fact that we think that this is a feature that people will generally be pretty excited about in Argo CD natively, and the render manifest pattern is really taking off. I think it makes sense to push to have it in Argo CD itself. Now, if there's pushback from maintainers, that's certainly valid and worth considering. So on the second question of Argo CD 3.0, yes, I do think this is a big step forward. Argo CD 3.0 should probably include a lot of significant changes, deprecating some stuff, removing some flags that don't need to exist anymore. So far, I haven't been able to secure sufficient time, at least on the Intuit side, to really give that the time that it deserves to do it well. Now, if there are other organizations that can help set aside the time and make all that happen at once, I would absolutely be in favor of making that version bump. I think it's well overdue.
I don't personally love the idea of a major version bump for features. I think it should literally be breaking API change. And I think forcing people, depending on how painful those breaking changes are, to limit, like I know it's like a cookie to get people to upgrade, but I'm personally not a fan of that being the driving force behind the V3. The driving force behind the V3 should be, we have a bunch of stuff we need to deprecate, right?
But marketing, Zach.
I know it's all marketing. I understand marketing, but I'm not a marketing person. I think the technical definition of Semver should be breaking changes. Personally,
I don't disagree. That is very fair.
I think one of the suggestions was to also create a new version for the API instead of the 1 beta 1, promote that to a more stable version. Not sure if I understood that correctly, Christian, if that was one of the drivers here.
Well, yeah, well, one of the drivers is that, we have V1 Alpha 1, but it's technically V1. Like I don't think we, if at all, make breaking changes to the specification, to the schema. So yeah, so that was just kind of like and to Zach's point, yeah, like this would be a cookie essentially, but it's also but I was thinking more of it's an opportunity, like, oh hey, like if we want to deprecate some stuff we want to be deprecating anyways, like if we're going to do some of the stuff anyways, this could be that cookie as well. We'll just add that as part of that. But yeah, I mean, to Zach's point, like we shouldn't change, we shouldn't go to V3 only because of this, right? Like there should be other factors. I completely agree with that.
Cool. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, I think I know we're at time, and I wanted just 30 seconds to close out one other issue.
Yeah, let's do that. If anyone has major concerns about this architecture, let me know. But if not, I'm gonna keep plugging away at code.
Thank you. Let me share back my screen. All right, done.
This one's very trivial, but there is a CNCF dashboard that keeps track of contributions, and it associates with a best effort your GitHub user with your company. And right now, I think it's very much undercounting the contributions of Intuit, because when I went through and just did a manual association, Intuit was showing up a lot higher in how much you guys were contributing. I think a lot of your stuff is getting misattributed. So to fix it, you need to go to openprofile.dev. I think the git DM is only for dev stats. Worth fixing it in both places because both are useful. But if you go to openprofile.dev, it's a CNCF tool, and you can basically log in and then sync your GitHub user with your work history so that all of your contributions are properly attributed. I think it'd be really great to do, especially for Intuit, where you guys are doing the work, but it's getting like misassociated. So it's a bummer. And this
Okay.
goes for anybody contributing anything to any CNCF project. You should do this.
Yeah, thanks for pointing that out, Dan. Yeah, I think we should do that. No problem. Cool. All right, we're on time.
Just one thing, Leo. I just wanted to mention everyone that we'll be cutting the RC for the next release, I think on Monday. Probably on Monday, yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
Pasha had a hard stop, so just wanted to mention that.
Yeah, I mean, issue that maybe we'll
Oh, you're there. Great.
everyone. Yeah, so
Nice. Well, thanks for letting us know. Great. Any last minute notification someone wants to bring up as well? All right. If not, have a great rest of your day, everybody. See you next week.
Thanks, Leo.
Thanks,
Bye.
everybody.
Bye, all.
Thank you.